everybody. Welcome to You Can't Make This Up. Yes, I'm traveling, but I have on my You Can't Make This Up shirt on. Hey, don't forget, you can get yours too, and your You Can't Make This Up hat, and coffee mug too. But what exciting days we are living in. Okay, I'm thinking I have so much to say. Let's just start with, all right, let's start with the Pope. Okay, what do we know about the Pope? Well, the other Pope's dead. So then what do we have today? Been waiting for the smoke to rise, and the smoke started rising. Got all the smoke going up and announcing there's a new Pope. As of right now, I am not sure who the Pope is. I'm pretty sure, though, that there's trouble brewing, no matter who it is. Okay. Just imagine, okay, think through this. Revelation chapter 13, it comes to the false prophet. I'm not saying the Pope is the false prophet. Don't put those words in my mouth. But let's just say Revelation chapter 13 says when it comes to the false prophet, he has two horns that look like a lamb and he speaks like a dragon. In other words, to the unknowing and non-biblical world, it's going to seem like, hey, this guy's so Christian, but he's going to speak like the dragon. The stuff that comes out of his mouth. Check this out. Speaking of appearing to many to be like a Christian, by the way, I'm watching one newscast a little while ago, and the guy on there saying he's going, speaking of the new Pope, he is the representative of God on the earth. I'm thinking, holy smokes. Hey, holy smokes, white smoke. I think you got to be kidding me. The representative of God on earth. So I guess it goes Pope, and then Mary, and then, or I think it goes like this. Pope and some saints, maybe they're equal, the dead saints, and then it goes to somewhere's Mary is above them all, I do believe. And then it goes to, oh my gosh, and then somehow Mary pleads a good cause for you to Jesus because, I mean, he's just crazy. But the Pope, the representative of God on earth, check this out. This is regarding the Catholic thinking. Check, you can't make this up. When you see the white smoke, don't think of prestige. Don't rush to post, to speculate, or to celebrate power. Kneel and pray, because the man who will soon step out onto the central balcony of St. Peter's Basilica is not claiming a throne, but embracing a cross. He is not a victor, but a sacrificial lamb chosen to lead a weary world. At the very moment, he may be in the small hidden chapel of tears beside the Sistine Chapel, weeping, not in triumph, but in awe and fear, asking God, why me? He will recount his frailties. He will list every reason why he feels unworthy, but God will not need strength. He will give mercy. This man will carry the full weight of Peter's office. He'll grow tired, suffer silently, grow old perhaps too soon, retire. He will not retire in comfort. He will die in service. I mean, it just goes on and on and on like this. So when you see the white smoke, pray for him. He's not stepping into glory. He's walking into sacrifice. I'm thinking, my goodness. Okay, no, you can't make this stuff up. You really can't. And this is, this just shows you, I want you to think of the world that we live in. So we got a new Pope, or the world has a new Pope, or the Catholic Church has a new Pope. We see what Trump is doing. I'm watching this morning, he's got all these trade deals going on and really sticking it to Israel. I mean, I don't know how else to tell you, folks. Watch my news update coming up in a couple hours, Today in Prophecy. Daily news in 15 minutes or less. I'll talk more about it there. And then so I look at this thing with the Pope and I'm thinking, can we live in a crazier world than all the things that happen to be happening all at the same time? And let me tell you, Israel is being isolated. Nevertheless, I'm saying, be alert, be watchful, be very, very, very alert. All right, you ready? I'm going to show you a video. If you know anybody who thinks they're really good at something and they're not, watch this video. It'll set up the rest of our time here. Let's watch this.
If you're very, very stupid, how can you possibly realize that you're very, very stupid? You'd have to be relatively intelligent to realize how stupid you are. There's a wonderful bit of research by a guy called David Dunning at Cornell, who's a friend of mine, I'm proud to say, who's pointed out that in order to know how good you are at something requires exactly the same skills as it does to be good at that thing in the first place, which means, and this is terribly funny, that if you're absolutely no good at something at all, then you lack exactly the skills that you need to know that you're absolutely no good at it.
Okay, so there you go. I mean, I thought that video was a great way to start the rest of our program here. So check out this. You ready for some newspaper headlines? Because this is You Can't Make This Up Thursday. And as far as I know, as far as I've been able to vet these are newspaper article titles from over the years. Could have been 100 years ago. Could have been last month. But here's some of these. Here's some newspaper titles. A miracle cure kills fifth patient. I actually found that article on Reddit. Miracle cure kills fifth patient. Here's another one. City unsure why the sewer smells. No, you can't. No, I mean, gee, why does the sewer stink to us? Okay. So here's another one. Study shows frequent sex enhances pregnancy chances. Oh, I never would have. Oh, my goodness. Man accused of killing lawyer receives a new attorney. Oh, this is hilarious. You can do it. You can't make this up, Joe, just on one of these articles. Here's another one. Statistics show that teen pregnancy drops off significantly after the age of 25. All right. So some of these newspaper article titles, you couldn't have actually, these can't be true. Are they just made up? Listen, like I said, I was able to actually look at one of the articles, and I'm looking at some of these going, these can't be real. They can't be real. Well, here's another one. This one probably is real. County to pay $250,000 to advertise lack of funds. That's typically, that's what politicians do. So that one, I mean, think Doge, right? Oh yeah, let's do that. Here's one for you. Federal agents raid gun shop. Find weapons. Oh, they had guns in there. And then this last one, I mean, I come up with 100 more, but oy vey, these just can't be real, can they? You can't make this up. You ready for this last one? Homicide victims rarely talk to police. Okay. So that's some of our humor for the day. We'll come to the tip of the week in a few more minutes, but we're going to work through some things right now. We're going to deal with some more serious stuff right now. So you ready? All right. Check out this video. Why do governments target Christians? And then you go, makes sense. Let's roll this.
Why Christians? Remember, the Soviet Union made a statement that we could control all of our entire population except the Christians, and they had to put them in prison and in gulags. And I remember 1994 when I was in the CIA, we were ordered into a conference room. We all filed in. There's about 30 of us, and our division chief starts off by saying, "Now, don't get mad at me. I'm just the messenger." This comes down from the director of the CIA. You can no longer say Merry Christmas in any CIA office space. You cannot have a manger scene on your desk or on your door, or you will face administrative penalties. And the sad part was only two of us, our jaws dropped. Like, what? And the CIA was actively against Christians, and they used DEI as a method to suppress them. And I remember it was Christmas Eve, and I walked out. I thought about this, prayed about this overnight, and I said, oh, no, you don't. So I walked out on New Year's Eve, and I turned around to everybody, and I said, good night, and by the way, Merry Christmas. I'm like, there is a line you don't cross. Well, there was an outrage from the CIA populace, and as evil people always do, when they got resistance, they backed off and said, well, never mind, But it has been Christianity, because the Christians are the only ones that will not answer to tyranny. We believe in God and a higher power, and we will not be manipulated by a tyrannical regime. And that's why Christians are despised around the world, including in this previous administration. My goodness. And going back to Obama, how they attacked.
Okay, so we see that. Right? So you start working through this, why they target Christians, right? So we get all that, right? Apparently, the new pope has been named. I see his name. I don't know anything about the guy yet. If I have some more time, I'll do some research. What's his name? Cardinal Robert something. I'm sure he's a really good guy. Anyways, let's roll on from there. You ready? I've had enough of the Pope for a day. Maybe I'll talk about the Pope a little bit more in my later update. I really don't know much about this guy. Okay, are you ready? This next video for you guys is going to explain why we have lawlessness. As if you and I couldn't already figure this out. This is one of the things that we already get. But when it's said and put into words like this, you go, see, we've been telling you. This is what's really going on. Let's roll this video. It's rather short.
Here's why the woke movement keeps shifting its goalposts. What we're seeing with today's social justice movement is exactly what the philosopher of totalitarianism, Hannah Arendt, warned about. A constant revolution with no end in sight. These movements, from feminism to gay rights, anti-racism, decolonization, and trans issues, mirror Arendt's observation that revolutions never settle, never declare victory, and never stop because they're not actually about achieving equality under the law. It's about expanding their umbrella until all individuals become part of one mindless blob that operates with a single rigid ideology, making them easier to organize for political ends. As soon as one cause wins, they find the next group to rally behind to justify the movement's existence. This is why they dispensed with feminism for transgenderism, which is directly at odds with the other movement. Fringe groups are absorbed not to help them, but to keep the movement alive. There's no end because the goal is not actually justice. It's the complete centralization of power. Orwell nailed it when he said one does not establish a dictatorship to safeguard a revolution. One makes the revolution to establish the dictatorship.
Okay, so there you go on lawlessness. Well, let's not stop there. Let's start looking at Islam. Why has Islam invaded Europe? Why do we have other parts here in the United States of America being threatened with this Islamic takeover? What in the world's really going on? Well, let's watch this video. It's short, it's very short. It's just explained real quick. Then I got something else I'm going to show you.
If we don't start to seriously fight for our continent, for our religion, for our people, our countries, then this time that we live in will go down in history as the time in which Western nations no longer had to get invaded by hostile armies in order to be conquered. This time will then go down in history as the period in which the invader was actively invited in by a corrupt elite. And not only did this corrupt elite invite the enemy in, they made the native population pay for it too.
All right, you got that explanation. Okay, let's roll on from here. Are you ready for the next one? Let's take a look at Dearborn, Michigan, and what's going on in Dearborn, Michigan? Check out this video. All right, so we're starting to get it right. All of these things are starting to come together, and you start to see the progression, right? Again, you look at this world, you go, you can't make this stuff up. We have a new pope. We have Trump doing his Trump stuff. Hey, listen, and then you have all the stuff going on with Islam. Folks, listen, joining me next week, Tuesday, Bill Feder is going to be joining me. And we're going to walk through Islam, through its birth, and we're just going to walk right on through its history. And let me tell you, a whole lot of things, as you see the beginning with Muhammad, a whole lot is going to start to make sense. And by the way, people ask, well, how did Islam grow so fast and get so many converts? Bill Feder, I know him well. Think of this. If you're Muhammad and nobody's converting to your new religion, And you tell him, they go, I don't really like what you say. And he goes, well, if you follow me, you can have 4 wives. Oh, that sounds okay. And when you die, you'll get 72 virgins. So that sounds pretty good, but I still don't like your religion. So what happens if I don't follow your religion? Well, if you do follow me, you get all these women that we've taken from other people. As we've captured them and slaughtered them, we've taken their women. We'll give you some of them. But if you don't follow me, then we'll kill you. So you go, oh, okay. So you look at it. Anyway, Bill Feder is going to be joining me on Tuesday. Very fascinating as we just walk through the history. Monkey Works, check this out. He is going to be joining me on Monday. So it's going to be a great week. Bill Feder on Tuesday, Monkey Works on Monday. We'll do an update for you also on Sunday night before we start the Life of David, and a great new series on Sunday morning. To join me for that. Okay, let's see this. Just some of the things going on with Trump. Just want to bring them to your attention. He basically, and I'm going to deal with this more in my news update here in a couple hours, but he's really pushed Israel into a corner. I talked about that yesterday, but check this out. In fact, let me just read a little bit of this to you. Is worth seeing. What in the world is going on? This report, Trump disappointed in Netanyahu, will go it alone in the Middle East. And regarding what's going on with Saudi Arabia and normalization agreements, Abraham Accords, Trump is saying, hey, you know what? We'll leave Israel out of it if we have to, and we're gonna bring about this peace agreement. I mean, you read it, you go, basically, we're gonna stick it to Israel. Jeez, man. Wow, just interesting times. Okay, so what's going on? Let me ask you this. What is going on with, I'm going to skip this next article. Let me go over here. We're going to drop down to 10 Steps to Tyranny. It's a short video, 10 Steps to Tyranny. A couple more things to show you, then we're going to head to the tip of the week. So watch this. All of these things are putting stuff together for us. Man, what interesting days we live in. Watch this short video, 10 Steps to Tyranny. I'll be right back.
Here's 10 things every tyrannical regime throughout history has done. First, exploit emergencies. Tyrannical regimes often exploit crises to expand their authority, citing the need for emergency measures to maintain stability. 2. Indoctrinate children. Through educational systems, tyrants instill loyalty to the regime, suppress critical thinking, and groom young people to serve as propagandists or enforcers of state ideology by glorifying political activism. 3. Control the flow of information. Authoritarian regimes employ censorship and suppress dissenting voices by restricting access to independent media and punishing individuals who speak out against the regime. 4. Label critics as extremists. Tyrannical regimes portray anyone who questions their rule as enemies of the state or threats to national security. 5. Weaponize identity politics. Authoritarian leaders frequently exploit societal divisions by scapegoating a specific identity group for economic hardships. 6. Distort history. By controlling the interpretation of history, tyrants seek to legitimize their grip on power and make citizens forget what life was like before their rule. 7. Use police forces to crush protests and silence critics. Protesters are met with violence and arbitrary arrests, serving as a warning to others who dare to challenge the regime. 8. Spread fear propaganda. State-controlled media inundate citizens with narratives that demonize enemies and exaggerate potential threats, fostering a climate of paranoia and obedience. 9. Manipulate the judicial system. Courts are stacked with loyalists and judges are pressured to render verdicts favorable to the regime, leading to the erosion of judicial independence and the rule of law. 10. Mass surveillance. The state maintains constant surveillance over its population, stifling freedom of expression and privacy rights. But thankfully, none of this is happening, right?
All right. You look at that and you start thinking, okay, 10 Steps to Tyranny. Now watch this. This is a really short video. I look at this. Let me read this passage to you. This is from Micah. Book of Micah, Old Testament, Micah chapter 2. And I want you to watch this video because this guy talks about his land being seized for protection of the environment, in this case, turtles. And then later on, after his land is seized for the protection of the turtles, guess what? That land is given over, no doubt for a fee, to a builder. Oh, so wait a minute, and who tear up the land that was protected. So they had to take it from this guy. Watch this, and then I'm going to give you this biblical connection. Watch this. It's really short.
American ranchers who had a 99-year lease that they bought and paid for grazing rights had that land stripped away from them. They had their permits stripped away in order to save an invasive species, a desert tortoise, that environmentalist groups said the cattle would force them into extinction. But now we get to the big kicker. So these ranchers were stripped of their rights to graze this land in order to save the desert tortoise. But now they're going in years later, bulldozing the land and building housing developments on the property. Let me know what y'all think about this in the comments below. Please share, like, comment. I want to know your thoughts. Thank you guys again for the support. God bless.
All right, you saw that. Now look at this. This is Micah chapter 2, beginning in verse 1, just 2 verses here. And tell me this isn't the stuff we see going on right now. Woe to those who devise iniquity and work out evil on their beds. At the morning light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. In other words, these are powerful people, powerful politicians. They're the leaders. They're the ones who are put there. They make their own laws and that kind of stuff. In the morning, when they lay in bed at night thinking, what can we do? What can we do? I know. Okay, so just think of that guy. He talked about taking the land, right? In the morning, they put it in practice because it's in the power of their hand. Get this, verse 2, tell me. This doesn't sound like this. They covet fields and take them by violence. They take houses and they oppress a man and his house and a man's inheritance. In other words, they take the land. We see these land grabs, whether it's by Bill Gates or by the government or by China. We're watching this all over the place. Okay, they seize it. They seize a man's house. They oppress a man and his house, and they take and they seize his inheritance. Take it. In other words, you're saving up for your children, for your children's children. You're putting everything away, and all of a sudden, the government comes in and says, "We've got the power of our hands to do this." Okay, now Micah was prophesying to both Israel and Judah. Over 700 years before Christ, warning, this is the way politicians and judges are. Friends, back then, and here it is, coming full circle. Here we are, staring at it. All right. What a day. Join me for Today in Prophecy, daily news in 15 minutes or less, coming up in a couple of hours. Hey, join me Sunday morning, Sunday night. Also, don't forget to go to the events page at hopeforourtimes.com. See all the different places that'll be. Going to be in Lake Stevens, Washington, coming up in just a couple of weeks. Then we're going to be in Phoenix, Arizona, and then down in Mexico at the end of June. But check everything out. Also, Santa Barbara, we're going to be up there. James Cadiz and Pastor Brandon Holthouse going to be joining me there. And I believe Pastor James Benefino is going to be joining me too. It's going to be great. That's in Santa Barbara. Then we'll be over in Texas in September. Check everything out at the events page, hopeforourtimes.com. Right, and join me Sunday morning, Sunday night, right online. Going to be fantastic time. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, you ready? Here's the tip of the week. Don't be sad. Because sad backwards is das, and das not good. There you go. That was bad, wasn't it? That was very bad. Hey, God bless you guys. See ya. Adios.